Hello everybody, hello, welcome back. We're up to phase 2's second movie. I was like, what am I saying here? What's the line I'm trying to use? Oh, okay. Yes, so that means we're up to Thor the Dark World. Now, this one is obviously a little bit of a controversial movie, I guess, only because the fandom seems to be rather divided on whether or not it's decent enough or not. I don't know, most people don't really tend to like this movie. I don't know what it is for me, why I tend to like it more than most, if it's because I'm just really biased, because as I've said before, Freudian slip much, that was great. I've said before that, Thor was my favourite Avenger. I clearly love Loki. I love the mythological side of the MCU. All this stuff is really interesting. And it's not a bad movie, guys. Come on, cut it some slack. It is not a bad movie by any stretch of the imagination. I have seen much worse movies than this one, definitely. There's lots of fun in it. There's lots of good action set pieces. Like, it's not terrible. There's some great lines from this one that you can quote that are really good. And I think it fits well into, like, the overall, I don't know, like, I want to say it fits well into the arc, but, like, it doesn't really, the one thing bad about this movie, it doesn't really do too much to progress Thor's character. He kind of starts off in the same place and finishes in the same place. Like, he doesn't really go through any kind of changes in this movie. He does, like, his, two, or so he thinks, of his family are lost, Frigga and Loki, but, obviously not Loki. So, he's experienced some grief and all of that, but ultimately I feel character-wise he's the same person, and that doesn't really, that's fine. It's fine, like, he didn't need to, he's now the humbled Thor. He's almost ready to be king, and I think after this one he's a bit more ready, but at the end of the movie, he's like, I don't want the throne. I'm gonna go on a wander around the realms for a little while. Anyway, let's dive in. I watched the trailer before I filmed this, and I gotta say, it's a really good trailer. Unfortunately, though, it's a really good trailer in the sense of Suicide Squad had a really good trailer. Because I know, like I said, I do enjoy this movie. It's not a bad movie, but I know it's not as good as a lot of the other Marvel movies, and I'll fully admit that. There are a lot of other movies in the MCU that are better. And just with Suicide Squad and the DCEU, it's, it's not a great movie either, especially in terms of that universe. I still enjoy parts of it, but we're not here to talk about that. Basically, all I'm saying is that the trailer makes this movie look like almost something that it's not, which is interesting because it shows us stuff, obviously, from the movie, and it doesn't really go out of its way to misdirect or mislead, but the way whoever edited it did a banging job, because, like, it's put together so well, and the bits of dialogue here and there that are used and the way they're used, it's very effective and it works, like, in a very good way to kind of set up what this movie is gonna be and get people excited for it. Obviously, we're now living in a world post-Avengers, so and with Avengers, obviously, Tom Hiddleston's Loki became this huge, success. Like, very, obviously very popular. He was popular after the first one, but then Avengers was like, whoa, okay, this guy's really, really good, and he's a great villain. And so, this trailer does a job of kind of amping up Loki's involvement in the movie. He's not in the movie as much as you would think based on this trailer. Based on this trailer, you feel like it's going to be Thor and Loki the whole way. It's not. needless to say, he is, he's still obviously heavily featured in the plot, and he's essential to the story. And he even opens the movie, technically. Like, after the title card, we get the scene of Loki and Odin that I love so much. It's a fantastic scene. It's a really interesting parallel between the last time they talked, because we didn't, the last conversation they had before this really was the one where Loki confronted Odin about his true parentage and where he came from and what Odin's plans for him were. And that was, of course I talked about that in the video for Thor, and it was just a wonderful scene. But this scene is just, it's a different version, because Loki rejected, I guess, when he fell off the Bifrost, when he willingly let go, even though he claims that he was, cast out and betrayed and all this, because he had his mind fucked with by Thanos. Pardon my French, sorry. Accurate way to describe what happened to him. So now that's his warped view on what happened, and then he comes, face to face with Odin again, in chains this time for his actions, and Odin has got no patience for him whatsoever. He's not really willing to mend any kind of bridges between him. He's just, it's almost like he doesn't see him as his own son, even though he's not his own son, but he's still adopted and all of that. He raised him, but he doesn't speak to him as if he is. And when Loki's like, I was born to be king, or I can't remember what he yells at Odin, but he talks about it. He yells at Odin, and then Odin's like, oh yeah, no, that's right. He says, it is my birthright to be king. He yells, it is my birthright, and Odin's like, your birthright was to die cast out onto a frozen rock. And if I had not taken you, you would not be here now to hate me. Like, all of that, just such good tension, and it's just so interesting, the choices that are made here. I mean, they're really good, they're really interesting, but I guess it kind of makes it more believable when you watch Thor Ragnarok and find out about Hela, that Odin's not exactly the best father in the world. But I love that scene. It's really, really good. It's a good way to open the movie. Everything else in this film, we do have some important stuff to talk about. So we get the introduction of the second of the 6 Infinity Stones, and this is the movie in which they are first referred to as Infinity Stones. In the beginning of the film, Odin is narrating the story of the Dark Elves, and he talks about the ether, and he specifically calls it an ancient force of infinite destruction. Obviously that's a wink to it being an Infinity Stone. And then later in the film, when he's explaining what the ether is to Thor and to Jane, he talks about, what the ether is, and how, and that it's, this, I can't remember if apologies for this, because I watched Guardians of the Galaxy like 2 days ago, and I've got that whole thing fresh in my mind, but I'm pretty sure in this scene Odin talks about, he refers to them as stones, as there's like the ether. He's like, he talks about the other singularities at the beginning of the universe, and then he talks about the ether, how like the rest of them were stones, but he doesn't call them Infinity Stones, but he's like, the rest of them were formed into stones, and except the ether is a liquid. It moves like a liquid, it works like a liquid, so it's not exactly a stone, but it is. I wonder how Thanos is going to make that into a stone from his gauntlet. That would be interesting. Anyway, but so that's confirmation. And then, of course, the post-credit scene, the first one, we get the introduction of Benicio del Toro's Collector, which is really super cool. Sets up a little bit of stuff for Guardians of the Galaxy by introducing him. And then, we get Sif and Volstagg. They bring the ether to the Collector, and he's like, why are you bringing this to me? Why not keep it locked up in Odin's vault? And then Volstagg's like, it's not wise to keep 2 Infinity Stones in the same place. So that is an interesting little, and that's the first time the phrase Infinity Stones is mentioned in the MCU. That's the first one. So that's probably the most important thing about this movie is that whole thing, the introduction of the ether, the name drop of Infinity Stones, highly important. Okay, I also really liked, we got some like little hints at Ragnarok, or Ragnarok at least, you know, provided us some little throwbacks to this movie, very subtle ones. So in the beginning of the film, as well, I'm still talking about the beginning, but a lot happens. Thor is with the Warriors 3 and Sif on Vanaheim, fighting this army, and then right at the end of the fight, a Cronin walks up to Thor, the big rock monster, and then Thor uses Mjolnir on him and, you know, makes quick work of him. Bye-bye. A Cronin, obviously, I don't know if you've been paying attention, but Korg from Thor Ragnarok is a Cronin, and, you know, Thor says that, he makes a point of, you know, saying, you're a Cronin, aren't you? Even though he's a lot smaller than this one in this movie, and, you know, he talks and stuff, and the other one just kind of grunts and growls. But I thought that was nice. And then there's also... Oh, no, I'm getting my wires crossed again. See, I shouldn't have watched all these movies so close together. I was thinking of something else. Don't worry about it. It's fine. We'll talk about it later. Yeah, so I thought that was cool. We also get the introduction of Zachary Levi as Fandral. Really, really great to see him in this role. He's really, really good. I like Josh Dallas in the role, of course, from the first film, but Zach Levi just kind of brings a bit of extra charm, I think, to the role, and I kind of like his like dashing Robin Hood-esque like look and persona and stuff. Like, he just, I don't know, he's quite good. He's really nice to watch. Interesting fact, because I think I mentioned in the previous film, he was supposed to play Fandral in the first Thor, but then they got Josh Dallas to play him instead because of scheduling. And then in this one, Josh Dallas couldn't play him, so they got Zach Levi because he was free. So I love that. It's quite funny. Another kind of cameo, small role, Chris O'Dowd, who most people will know from the IT Crowd, of course, and Bridesmaids and a bunch of other stuff. He's a very, very funny actor. He gets to play Jane's date in the movie, and I really enjoy the comedy he brings. He's very, very funny. He's always funny, but I like, his little addition. Like, he doesn't really do too much in terms of the story or anything, really, but, you know, he's a welcome addition on some level, that's for sure. We also, what else do we get? Okay, I should talk about Malekith. So Christopher Eccleston plays Malekith. Oh god, I'm trying to get more comfy for you guys, and I'm knocking things around. He's good. I mean, a lot of people don't like Malekith too much, I guess. He's one of the weaker villains. He's kind of that, you know, one-dimensional villain who kind of just has one motivation kind of based on, you know, whatever. You know, like thousands of years ago he tried to bring darkness to the universe, and then now he's going to do it again. Yes. It's fine. It works for the movie. It's fine. Like, I mean, it's a little weak sauce, but I don't know. It's okay. He's a good actor, Eccleston. I enjoy him. He's, you know, I've seen him in a bunch of stuff, obviously, but, you know, he's known for being one of the doctors in Doctor Who, even though I haven't watched Doctor Who. I do know that because it's common knowledge, I guess. But, yeah, he's fine. I mean, I like the Dark Elves look, like the makeup and stuff that they did with them in their hair, and, yeah, they're quite, yeah. I mean, not super intimidating, I guess. I mean, the voice, I like the voice Eccleston uses, and when he talks in the Elvish language, it's kind of, you know, it's kind of creepy and a little bit malevolent. But yeah, I don't know. I like the look, but I feel like it's not evil looking enough, I guess. I don't know. Their ships are cool. I like their ships. They're very good. Okay, what else should I talk about? Oh, I really enjoyed... See, this is... I feel like this is like the overarching theme of these movies, although this is probably going to be the last time this is kind of mentioned, because Ragnarok really doesn't touch on this at all. the whole science and magic thing gets brought up again, which I think is really, really cool. There's a scene in, towards the end of the first act, I guess, start of the second act, when Jane's on Asgard and she's got the ether in her, and they're trying to figure out how to get it out of her or how to save her, and they put her on this bed gurney thing. Can't really think of a better word or phrase. Go me. And anyway, and then they have all the Asgardian medics, I guess, looking after her and kind of trying to figure out, and they conjure up this like shimmery kind of thing above her that kind of forms in the shape of her body, and it's like an X-ray machine sort of thing, but with a 3D version, I guess. And then Jane's lying there, and she's like, this is a quantum field generator, she says. And then the woman's like, it's a soul forge. And then she's like, well, does it do this, 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 and this? I'd be damned if I can remember exactly what she says, because it's all sciencey mumbo jumbo, which is fine. But then she's like, can it do this? And she's like, yeah, that's what it's doing. Yeah, that's what it does. And she's like, it's a quantum field generator. And it's so adorable. I really, really like how adorable that is, and how Jane is. And then, she smiles at Thor, and then he smiles back. It's a nice little scene. I like it. Also, science and magic combine, obviously, in the end. That's how they defeat Malekith. Right at the end, we get the combination of Selvig and Jane's instruments combined with Thor's with Mjolnir, and then just the use of the other realms colliding with this alignment called the convergence. So all of that works together and then the ether as well, and to destroy Malekith. So I thought that was really well done as well. So science and magic for the win. Speaking of Selvig, he's a bit shaken up after Avengers, of course, because as he says in the movie, I've had a god in my brain, which he did. Hawkeye seemed to obviously recover a lot better than he did, which is interesting. So Selvig kind of provides a lot of the comedic relief in this movie, not all of it, because that's what they have Darcy and Ian there for as well. They're comedic relief essentially. But yeah, Eric does, and he's funny. It's he's naked and he's running around Stonehenge. It's kind of funny, I guess. There's a lot of little funny moments. One in particular is where the Stan Lee cameo comes in, and so Eric is explaining the convergence to a bunch of nut job / elderly people, in this center. I don't know, it looks weird what it is, but he's taken his Stan Lee shoe, and then at the end of his explanation, Stan's like, can I have my shoe back? And I think that's, it's kind of funny, random place for him to turn up. I thought that was very well done. I liked it. But yeah, of course Selvig is fine by the end of the movie, which is good. But yeah, for a while there, he'd lost his marbles quite a bit. Okay, speaking of cameos, this movie features one of the best cameos ever put to film, ever. I love it. Okay, so obviously if you have seen this movie, I'm talking about the Captain America cameo. So there's a scene after Thor breaks Loki out of prison, and they're walking, in the direction of, where they need to go, and down this long corridor. And, Loki's just loving it. He's just lapping it up, just oh, you've done something a bit naughty, brother. I'm very impressed. This is great. And then he just proceeds to kind of torment him a little bit because he's the trickster. He turns Thor into Sif, and it's quite funny. Loki turns himself into one of the Asgardian guards. They have a name, but I can't remember how to pronounce it, so I'm not going to try. But I know there's a name for them. And then Loki's like, okay, or how about I take the guise of, one of your new friends since you seem to like them so much. And then he turns into Captain America, and it's Chris Evans, holding the shield, full suit from the Avengers. And And it's, yeah, so it's Loki as him, obviously. So Chris Evans does a wonderful job. So here's some little backstory behind that scene. Tom Hiddleston, I can't remember if it was his idea he wanted to do it as Cap originally, or like originally the writers or the director wanted Loki in the suit, not Chris Evans, maybe because they weren't sure they could get Chris Evans or something. But I think, yeah, Tom wanted to put the suit on and give it a go and see how it turned out. And so he did. And it's basically just, yeah, Loki with, he's got his, he slicked back black hair, and then he's got the outfit on, and he does the scene. It's the exact same scene, word for word. And it's a joy to watch. It's on YouTube, guys, go check it out, because it's so funny. But then what happened was they decided not to go with the scene, and they got Chris Evans. So basically what you're seeing in the movie, though, is Chris Evans doing an impression of Tom Hiddleston's performance, from that, unused scene. Yeah, he basically just copies what Tom does. And there's videos of it online. There's articles about how it's, side by side stuff, and you watch them and it's like, wow, yeah, he did such a good job. It's really, really well done, and I love it to death. It's such a great little cameo. Yeah, further advancing, of course, the connectivity of this universe. So it's just a joy. That's one of the best things about this whole thing, is that we get stuff like that you don't get in other movies. It's super cool. Yeah, I mean, if you're only watching the Thor movies and you haven't seen Captain America yet, or the Avengers, which, I don't know why you wouldn't, but that's your problem, not mine. Just jokes. Yeah, then it maybe not work as well for you if you don't watch them all, but it's, for those that do, it's a nice little bonus, so I love it. Okay, I should probably get wrapping up with this. What else? Okay, yeah. Loki basically steals the show in this movie. I just love everything he's in. Every scene he's in is fantastic. He has the best dialogue, the best little jabs and everything. The best dramatic tension comes from him as well. I love the whole, the betray him and I'll kill you 3-beat of and then he's like, well, evidently there will be a line, because, all you guys are going to kill me if I betray him. So get in line, get in line. I love the whole, how they break him out and then they use him to get to the dark realm, the dark world, Svartalfheim, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, hopefully. And then when they get there, and then him and Loki and Thor have a big they kind of have a powwow about the death of Frigga, to which I think Thor didn't react anywhere near as badly as he did with that when Loki dies in this movie. I think he seemed a bit more, unless it's because he just, he saw it happen, I guess, right in front of him. But then again, I guess he saw Frigga die as well. Anyway, I don't know, just a little observation there. But anyway, the scene when they're on the craft and they fight about, what the future of Jane and the point of them being together, and then, then they start, Thor brings Frigga into it, and then, that just escalates from there, obviously, and then it ends with, Thor's just I wish I could trust you. And then Loki just kind of takes this really great pause for dramatic effect and gets up and faces him, and he's like, trust my rage. And the delivery on the line is just, oh my God, it's so well done. It's so fantastic. I love it. And then of course, Loki's death scene is really good, and it's nice watching it now, having seen Ragnarok and what they did with that, obviously. In Ragnarok was quite funny. But at this moment, it was quite we thought he was dead, because it looked like he died, and, it was very emotional. And it was, I think after everything, Thor was still hold on, don't die on me, kind of it's okay, everything's going to be okay, or I'll tell father what you did here today. And then Loki's like, I didn't do it for him. And then he lets go, and then he's gone, and then Thor just kind of screams in agony, and it's like, oh gosh, yeah. It's very powerful stuff. But then, of course, we get the reveal. Obviously, I mean, if you're intelligent enough, you would have picked up that the guard that randomly appears on Svartalfheim is actually Loki, trying to sneak back into Asgard. And so, yeah. First time I watched it, I didn't get it. I don't know why. It's pretty obvious when you know, and then you look back, you're like, oh, okay, clearly. But yeah, the reveal of him on the throne at the end is fantastic. I love it. He just transforms back into himself from Odin and says, "No, brother, thank you," or whatever he says. Or just, no, thank you. And then, evil grin. It's great. Also, pay attention to what Anthony Hopkins did in this scene, because everyone raves about what he did in Ragnarok, but in this scene, he's already doing it, like portraying Loki, portraying Odin, because I don't know if someone else has done it online, but I just love the fact that the way Odin is standing and holding the scepter is the exact same way that Loki is standing and holding the scepter in Thor when he is king. Exact same way. They kind of turn to the side, kind of one leg sort of raised a little bit, kind of like, and then holding it, and then like, exactly the same. And then, he sits down, and then it's exactly the same as Loki when he sits on the throne. Like, it's subtle, but it's great. If you're looking for it, it's so well done. I love it. Can't rave enough about it. Okay, so speaking of raving, I think that's probably all I'm going to talk about with this movie. It's a lot for Thor the Dark World, considering, like I said at the top, a lot of people don't like this movie, but it's not terrible, you guys. Go watch it. It's an essential part of the entire MCU as a whole, so please go check it out. The post-credit scene, of course, is nothing too crazy, like the end one, to rave about. Is literally just, Thor returns to Jane, and then they kiss, and it's nice, and all of that. And then the beast from Jotunheim kind of crashes through, because he got through when the convergence was happening, and he's stuck on Earth, and it's a little funny. Yeah. I think that's all I have to say, really. I wish Hogun was in this movie more, though. That's my final thought. Hogun was not used very well in this movie, so I'm glad they kind of redeemed him a bit in Ragnarok. It's very good. Okay, so thank you so much for watching, you guys. I'll be back next time with my thoughts on none other than Captain America, the Winter Soldier. So stay tuned for that. Thanks for watching. I've been Kendall Richardson, and you've just experienced non-scripted rambling.